Welcome back to the Mental Toughness and Body Show, the podcast where we dig deep into the mindset, discipline, and performance strategies that drive world-class results across body, business, and life. And today I'm joined by someone who knows all about playing the long game with clarity and conviction, Rob Flux. Rob is one of Australia's most respected voices in property development and investment strategy. And as the founder of Property Developer Network, he's mentored 32,000 people, he tells me now, of Australians to generate serious wealth through real estate. But there's much more to the man than just the numbers. And that's where we want to go to today. So, in today's conversation, we're going to go beyond all that, unpack the mindset, purpose, and personal evolution that drives Rob, because I think this is where the gold is. It's not in the numbers and the results. It's like, where did he come from? How did he get there? And we're going to have a great conversation. So, Rob, welcome to the show.
Mate, Rob, as soon as Rob squared, that's what we're going to call it today.
That's right. So let's go back right to the very beginning. So before any of the property deals, the networks, the financial wins, who would you say you were, and what do you think shaped your world view growing up?
Mate, that's going a long way back. I don't want to give away my age, but I'll take you all the way back to the age of 5. So
Okay.
I grew up in a place called Darwin. And if anyone knows Darwin at all, it's most famous for two things, being bombed in World War II and Cyclone Tracy. Now, I'm not old enough for the World War II, so I'm not going to go there. But I did go through Cyclone Tracy. Our house at the time, mum and dad had a brand new house, was only 8 months old. And unfortunately, that house got knocked over. Mum and dad did not have insurance. And so for the next, I'm going to say 5 years of my life, I lived underneath the floorboards of a house, of a absolutely destroyed house. And I was having, I guess, a shower through a garden hose for about 3 years of that.
Jeez.
So came from absolutely nothing, mate, and less than nothing. As I said, mum and dad weren't even insured for that house, so we were well beyond behind the eight ball to start with.
So through that process, obviously you're only a child, but I know these things are manifest when we're kids. Did you think property then? Because it's like, man, I need a better house than this. So when
No, I
the
didn't
seeds
think
planted.
property then, but I was always entrepreneurial. I guess, started a paper route, and within about 3 months of owning the paper or doing the paper route, so delivering catalogs in in letterboxes and that sort of thing. Within
Yep.
3 months of having that, an opportunity came up to take over the entire route and take over from the distributor. So I did that. So I was 14 and a half and owned a paper route and had like 8 or 9 other kids working for me. And of course, you delegate the easy jobs to yourself. So I'd deliver to all the
Both
units.
ones.
So all
Yeah.
the units, I'd be, 30 letterboxes in one spot and not have to do anything. And then give everyone else the traipsing the streets and that sort of thing. So very entrepreneurial very early on. I guess went and was a trolley pusher at Kmart back in the days when I guess they didn't have the ramps, and they didn't have the machines that you kind of drag the trolleys around. Had to hard push 30 trolleys up a hill, back in the sun, mate. And with
In
white
Darwin.
skin like
Yeah.
this, that's not good. So
Yeah.
so did it tough, but was always saving, was always entrepreneurial, and I guess there was an opportunity that came up through, I guess, a series of events where mum and dad were in financial difficulty. I guess with their second house, so they built a new house to replace the first one, and in order to help them out, I ended up buying their house off them at the age of 18.
Wow.
So bought that off them. I was able to qualify for, I guess, at the time, a first homeowners grant and I guess a low income loan from the government at the time. And mum and dad needed the money, so they ended up paying me rent. And so mum was doing the cooking and cleaning. They were paying me rent. I was still being an 18-year-old and going out and having fun and doing all the things that 18-year-olds do until, coming home at 6 a.m. in the morning and then sleeping till 6 p.m. at night and then going and doing it again, mum and dad said, you can't do that. Like, you're not going to get anywhere in life. And I distinctly remember these words coming out of my mouth. It's my house.
Yeah.
It's my rules. Right. And so mum and dad looked at each other and went, well, it's time for us to
Fair
go.
enough.
And that's when I worked out that I really was on my own at that point. And so I had to make it work. This was in I guess, the recession that Paul Keating called the recession that we
One we
had to
had to
have.
have.
So 17.5% interest rates.
Yeah.
That was my first leaning into things. But despite all of that, bought my first investment property at 21 and owned my first house outright at the age of 24. So managed to have a good start to the journey and then just kicked on from there, mate.
What do you think, or that entrepreneurial mindset, where did you think that came from?
It came from having lack.
Mm,
So, and I didn't want to have lack ever again. I didn't want to go through and go through those harsh, difficult times. And so I was just determined that I would do whatever it took to get to the other side because I
yeah.
was already having a tough life. So working hard was no tougher than living in squalor. So I figure if I work hard, at least I've got a chance.
I was similar, and like obviously different story. I was living in a house, not under the floorboards, but we did have floorboards. And what did it for me was just I didn't language it this time like this way at the time, but mum and dad had a very poor money mindset, and anyone that had money was mean. So therefore, don't have money because you'll be mean. It's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But all I saw was, but you don't really have any. It seemed to be the cause of a lot of problems and stuff. So I went down the pathway of becoming accountant, chartered accountant. I wanted to be financially free, get out of home and be financially independent and build my wealth from the very first paycheck that I got. And I was good saving in the money box and doing all those sorts of things as a kid. And um, yeah, I think for me, it definitely came out of not having and seeing what mum and dad were doing and trying to educate them to do it better. But it works, right?
It all works, but only if you're good at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people have some great ideas, but they don't necessarily have the drive to actually execute on those ideas. That they might start the process and fall short, but when you actually understand the pain of where you are, so long as the pain of the change is less than the pain of where you are, then it's
Mm.
very easy to progress.
So let's talk about your journey now, and maybe we can help build some building blocks because you're at a level now that most people just can't even imagine. It's like, well, how the heck did you get there? 32,000, members in your group and so forth. Uh, Maybe let's go back to, all right, so you're 24, you own your first home. At what point do you move from, say, I want to be an investor to I want to help other people, doing what you're doing now? And where, like at that stage, did you think, wow, I would be where I am now? Like how did that sort of fuel to where you are now?
Well, there was a couple of ups and downs in the middle of all of that, and more than happy to get to that bit. But you probably got to understand the roller coaster to get there.
Mm,
Um, uh, I was predominantly a buy and hold investor in the early days. I did 20 years of buy and hold, so bought the
yeah,
first house at 18. So 20 years later, at the age of 38, on paper, I could retire.
yeah,
But regrettably, I got divorced at 37. Had to, I guess, put all the toys back in the center of the kitty and divvy that up and go and start again. And I worked out that property investment, whilst it worked, was very slow.
yeah,
And so I wanted to learn the property development path. So I went and I spent about $120,000 on my education trying to teach myself the property development process where I knew I could force value onto the property and accelerate much faster. At the end of that process, uh, I guess some of the educators that I guess came across were a little bit more motivated by their pocket than mine.
mm,
And so at the end of it, I was very motivated and inspired, but didn't really know what to do. Um, So I read a book, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and
Yeah.
it talks about the power of the mastermind. And for those who have not worked on the power of the mastermind, we can only solve our problems through our own worldly experience. And most of us are too scared to share our problems with others. So that's what we're limited to, solving problems like that. But if I share my experience with you, Rob, then you can add your worldly experience to that. And if we have two or three other people in that group, your idea might spark an idea with another person that they may not have come up with on their own. And so that is the mastermind working. So it's not brainstorming, it's actually using your great insights, and then somebody else has their insights on top of that. So
Yeah.
that masterminding process, I started with five mates around my kitchen table. And as we started to get success, as a mate invited a mate and they invite another mate, we outgrew my kitchen table, outgrew my lounge, and then created a public networking group in October of 2012. So we're now fast approaching 13 years of running that community, 17 people at the very first one of those events. Now, as you touched on before, 32,000 members in our community now, and we run events all the way around the country. But as we started to do that, what would happen in that mastermind process was this really unanticipated outcome. So I would go into the mastermind with my problem, and everyone in the group would try and help me. And then
Mm.
we would take turns, and then I'd listen to your problem, Rob. And so I would get exposure to a problem that I've not yet had, and I'd get exposure to answers to that problem that I'd not yet had. And so next month, if I came across you again and go, "Hey, Rob, did that work out for you?" And
Mm.
now I've learnt about a problem that I may never have, but when I do, I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah.
And so you do that with half a dozen people in the one group, and your mental agility starts to grow exponentially. And then you do that every single week, I guess for 13 years, with 32,000 members. And my brain feels like the size of a planet for a whole bunch of problems that I've not had, but I know how to solve. And so as I started to do that, I was able to pull answers out of when people come and ask me help. I had answers that was in my head that might have been on someone else's project. And so I was able to help others, I guess, a lot easier. And it became very satisfying just seeing them progress and seeing them, uh, I guess, um, I guess, join me on that journey. Because it's a hard and lonely road, and so you want people to come on that journey with you. And so I figure, well, rather than being at the top of the mountain where it's nice and pointy, if I come down the mountain just a little bit, there's room for a lot more of us up there, and the view is still pretty good, mate.
Yeah. Fantastic. I've got a few questions that evolve from what you just said there. Let's jump to this one first, because people that are going on this type of journey, I'm assuming when you started out, like you said, it was just mates sitting around and you're having a conversation. Let's solve our problems. Let's build wealth together. At some point, you realize how much value that you can add to people. And at some point, we say, we should be charging people for this work. And then it's like, okay, well, how much do you charge? Because I guess our natural inclination is you want to undercharge people because, oh, what if there's no value and all that kind of stuff. And then when you get to that point of saying, well, do you know what? If I'm charging 10,000, 20,000, 25,000, $30,000 for this service, I know the value is in there and they're going to get that tenfold. But tell us about perhaps that journey for you where it's like, should we be charging for this? At one point, do we charge? And how do I get that price point and so forth?
Well, I can tell you that one really easy.
How did you go
Uh,
through that?
Look, at the start, it was very much a passion project. And I was doing it because it was helping me. And I'll be honest and say I wasn't there to help others. I was there to help myself. And this was just a vehicle to do that.
Yep.
But I was funding the room hire, I was funding the AV equipment, I was funding all of those things at a cost to me.
Yep.
And my soon to be future ex-wife number two, I'm successful at that. And like, I can't stress that one enough. Um, uh, she came to me and said, "Why are you funding this process? This is costing us money. It's not." And there was this X factor that I couldn't articulate. I just said, "There's something here. I don't know what the something is. I just want to see where it goes."
Right.
And so she made me actually start to charge people in the first place.
Right.
And we started charging people $25 to turn up to an event. And I guess 13 years later, it is still $25 to come to an event. We haven't changed. We have a lot more people, so we get to cover those costs relatively easy. But that was really the genesis of starting to charge. And then it was then people coming and asking me, "Hey Rob, can you just mentor
Go
me on
deeper. Mm.
can you mentor me on an hourly rate basis?"
Mm.
And I started doing that for a while, and I kept getting asked the same question again and again and again. I went, hang on, if I'm getting asked the same question, then if I solve that problem, I can help many, many people in one go. And that's when I started the I guess the journey of, hey, I should run a course on this. And it started out as a 2-day weekend. And I guess when we helped people with that, the biggest lesson that I've learned in life, you help somebody's problem, what happens is the problem moves. Okay, so instead of showing them how to do it, now they wanted their hand held. And so every time I've solved a problem, the problem kept moving. So we have evolved to say, well, what is all of the issues, challenges, and problems that people have on their journey, and we just keep putting solutions in front of them. And the way to make money, mate, is to solve someone's problem. You can add value to their life, then they will be willing to charge for that. And the price point is a commensurate to the value that you're adding.
You've hit on some really great points there. And I think one thing that I see in the property developer space, because let's face it, in Australia, within the property developer education space, there's a lot of people in there. And I think what people really want is somebody that holds their hand through a process so that they can do it, because people will talk from the stage about how great this is because they've had that success, but a lot of them are making more money from actually selling the course than actually doing the property development work and so forth now. um, but at the end of the day, what people need is not just, like you said, the like 2 days, great. But if you want to go deep in this, you need somebody like you that's going to coach them and hold their hand for the whole year or ongoing years or whatever it is so that they can achieve that. And I know that that's why people come to work with me in what I do, because you can be motivated and inspired by the end of this podcast. But then you go and have a shower tonight and it's like sunscreen that washes off, and then you get back into life and you forget it. So we absolutely need that. And I know this is something that's a really important part of what you do. And that's why you keep getting the results for people, hence why you can charge, uh, a commensurate fee.
Yeah. So look, we have a pretty interesting criteria because we don't let everybody in. Because I guess a rising tide lifts all boats, and if one person is holding everything down, then the boat doesn't lift, right? It's like an anchor that sits behind us. So we're quite selective in the people that come into our program. But as strange as it might sound, it's one simple question that is the biggest determination of whether they're in or out. And that is, are they going to commit to giving me 15 hours a week? Because this is learning a new career. And if you're not going to be putting the effort in, you're not going to get the outcome. So me taking their money and I can give them the information, but they're not going to do anything with it. And so as a result, we only get people that are doing the hard work, which means that those people are getting the outcomes. And so as one person gets success, it drags everyone else up as part of the journey. And so at the end, you get raving fans, and not the people who spent the money and didn't get the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said at the start of the show, I like to get to understand the person behind the success. I know you have a very specific daily routine that you walk through to set you up for success, because it's fairly safe to say, isn't it, you could become complacent with where you are right now.
You could do, absolutely. So, and my daily routine has changed over time, but I can tell you how it started, and then what it's morphed into.
Yep.
It started out where every single morning I'd get up, I'd have my cup of coffee, I'd sit on the back deck, and I would do my daily affirmations. So my daily affirmations would be telling myself, I guess what I wanted to achieve in 5 and 10 years time, and starting to visualize that. And then I would actually then write that on a page. And so it started out as 2 pages of content, and I managed to condense the words down so it fit on a single page, and it was word for word the same every single day for a long time. And then you sit, after writing it down, you sit in that moment and you visualize that it's already happened. So what does success look like at the very, very end? Now, at the end of that process, you go, right, in order to do that, what are the tasks I'm going to do today? I set my intentions. And at the end of the day, before I go to bed, then I review my day and I go, did I achieve my intentions? And just by having that gap of 12 hours or so between starting the day and ending the day, I start to see, where did I start to break down? I had an intention to do something and I was on a great path, but at midday, I got distracted and went to do something else.
Yeah.
And so between midday and 8 o'clock at night when I do my review, that's an 8 hour gap. And then the next day, I'd set my intentions again, and now it's 1 o'clock. So now it's a 7 hour gap. And then you eventually get closer and closer and closer until you can actually catch yourself in the moment. Now, when you can catch yourself in the moment, you've got choices now. Am I going to respond or react? So reacting is with emotion, responding is with deliberate actions. And so if I can respond when I get that distraction in front of me, what is the process I'm going to make? And I can make a very clear, deliberate task. So now I don't have to do my daily affirmations because that's now ingrained in me. Okay. So it took a while to actually have that ingrained,
How
but
long? How many years?
uh, oh, I'm going to say 18 months.
Mm,
Yeah, 18 months of consistently solid, just doing that every single day. But now now I'm driven with purpose just instinctively.
mm.
Yeah.
I love that because I know you and I have spoken about this on when I was on your show, and very similar. I do the same thing every day. I have a day on a Sunday where I set, okay, what do I want to, where do I want to be this time next week? Break that down into those daily things. Then I do the same thing. Okay, what's my thing first thing today? What do I want to achieve at the end of the day? I'm sitting in bed and I'm like, okay, now let's review. What have I got on tomorrow? How did I do today? And yeah, I do that reverse engineering. Why did I stop here? Why did that happen, etc. And yeah, I didn't write down my daily affirmations or incantations, whatever you want to call them. I would walk around my estate saying them out loud. And I used to get so into it and so passionate that I would sometimes walk past people saying them and just forget where I was. But yeah, I reckon it took me about 2 years. And now I don't do it either because it's just part of my DNA now.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting. Tell us about the next level. So that's the mindset side of it, how you set yourself up. Because it is the mental toughness and body show. So, what do you do from a health perspective on a daily basis?
Uh, Most days I go for anywhere from a half hour to an hour walk, depending upon, I guess, deadlines on that particular day. And
Mm,
my partner is very diligent in reminding me that I need to do that.
yeah,
I have a home gym at home, I guess, quite well set up. So where we can, we try to do that. I'm going to say at minimum 4 times a week, but ideally we want to do that every single day. Um, Depends on if we're on the road and that sort of thing. If we are on the road, we always choose a hotel that has a gym
yeah,
and ideally
yeah,
has a sauna.
yeah. I love a sauna. Yeah,
Yeah. So we treat ourselves where we can with that sort of stuff. Uh, but my health is not as good as it used to be, and it's not because of how I treat my body, but it's more incidents and accidents. Years of semi-professional rugby, and I guess a couple of accidents that have actually happened to me means I've got a bad back and I've got bad knees. So I have to do things within my physical bounds. But you know, I still get by. Most people don't realize,
how
that
much you're putting in.
I've got a titanium disc in my back. I've got electrodes in my spinal cord. I've got a battery pack in my back that I have to charge once a week. I've had 6 knee surgeries, 2 knee reconstructions. Most people don't know.
Yeah,
Uh, because I've worked out that pain is just a electrical signal to your brain, and you can teach your brain that how you interpret that signal. It doesn't have to mean pain. So, with a little bit of, I guess, positive thinking, you can actually change all sorts of meanings in your mind.
And plus, you're putting in the work into your body to make sure that you're strong above and below the joints, which helps
Yeah.
obviously ease the pressure as well. Do you have much of a focus on this? Is kind of a Dorothy Dixer question. Do you have much of a focus on your food and what you're putting into your body?
I don't, but my partner does. She's very health conscious with regards to that. So, I don't mind the occasional, I guess, naughty snack. But no, my partner is very diligent on keeping me on track with that side of things. So, she's my conscience, mate.
Nice work. So, what would you say is next for you, but on business front and on a personal front, solidifying that relationship so there's never a divorce ever again in your life is what we're.
That's the plan. I
Um,
can't afford number three, mate.
but what's next for you? Because I know with this high performance mindset, you never settle.
No, I've set myself a goal to have 1,000 people financially free by the year 2030. So I'm well on my way to actually achieving that. For each person starting that journey, that's typically a 5-year roadmap for them, I guess, from starting to, I guess, achieving that. We've currently got 72 people that will stick their hand up and say, "Hey, that was me." But because it takes 5 years, there's a number of others that are in the pipeline that hopefully will pop out very soon.
Yeah.
But I've got 5 years left to actually achieve that goal. So I'm hell bent on getting the message out. I guess starting to, I guess, have more people work underneath me, spreading my word rather than me doing all the work myself, and having the business be able to scale and run when I'm not able to be there, so I can still get the word out.
I think you've just hit on a really important point there. 5 years, right? And people, I think, go to seminars and think about success. And it's like, oh, I want to be a millionaire in 12 months. It's like, okay, keep dreaming. It's not going to happen that quickly. So just tell us a little bit about what's your thinking behind why people need 5 years, and we can dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bill Gates famously said we overestimate what we do in 12 months and underestimate what we do in 10 years. So my variation on that is 5 years. The first 6 months, I guess, assuming that you're putting that 15 hours a week in, the first 6 months is just learning the trade, right? So after 6 months, you are competent, but not necessarily confident.
Mm.
So confidence comes from practice and repetition. So you know what to do, but you're nervous and you're not sure. So practice and repetition, somewhere around the 9-month mark, you're going to be able to identify a deal and hopefully negotiate that deal. That deal itself, depending upon what it is, could be anywhere from 9 months to 2 years to run, I guess, to run that project. So you could be 18 months all the way up to 3 years in before you get your very first payday. So
Right.
that's a long way from where you start. So and that's not the $1 million deal. That's the first one to actually set you on the journey. But what most people don't realize is that first 12 months of learning, you can't unlearn that.
Yeah.
Once you've got that, you can apply it again and again and again. So the ability to take on deal number 2 very quickly, deal number 3 very quickly, and they start to overlap. And we teach people how they can do that with little to no money by controlling property rather than owning it. So when you can start to control a property, then you go, well, money is not the object here. I guess money is the byproduct of the process, but how do we help someone on the other side of the transaction to get them a better outcome? And that in turn will give us a better outcome.
Yeah, beautifully said. The thing that I find for most people is their, I suppose, inability to remain focused and to adopt an incredible, if you like, insatiable appetite for consistency. So their work ethic. I find that they want something quickly, they want the result quickly. And I know for myself, I like to think I'm either the average or slightly below average guy that, like I'm shorter than the average person. I probably read at an average to slightly below average speed. It seems to take me longer to learn things, but I know that my focus is better than most, and my work ethic is certainly better than probably 99.9% of people, because I just know what the outcome is that I want to achieve, and I just keep going until I get that. Um, I'm just curious, is that something that you see? I mean, you got 32,000 people. Do you see a focus on work ethic as an issue?
It's the critical issue. It's the thing that sets us apart. If you look at the statistics for whether it be a training course, whether it be a gym membership or anything like that, 80% of the people who sign up never do anything with it.
Mm,
It's only 20% of the people who go regularly and consistently to the gym. It's only 20% of the people who do regular and consistent work in any training course that they do. And even of those 20%, they've got all the right intentions, but for a lot of them, life gets in the way.
yeah,
And so they start with the right motives and intentions, but I guess some of them fall off. So our job is to keep those ones who are originally motivated to start with, keep them on track. If we can do that, then we will get, and we are getting much better outcomes and throughput because those who are putting the effort in actually get to complete the task.
I find that now, well, if I reflect back on life, my biggest life lessons and where I've had the most, say, personal growth, for me, I find that personal growth comes first, and then you can use that into your business life, have come through the greatest moments of pain imaginable. I'm wondering on what your, because I think success only teaches you so much. Like, oh yeah, that worked. But where the growth is that I see it for me is in the pain. I'm just interested in how you view that, and let's go outside the personal side of things. But what would you say has been the greatest like failure or pain, and what was the growth that you had from that?
Well, I'll add to your sentiment. We only grow through pain. When you go to the gym, your muscles grow
Gotta
because you
hurt.
tear them, and they repair. And so you're building on the lessons of that. It's very hard to take a lesson out of a win, but you can take plenty of lessons out of a loss. And
Mm,
so everything that I do, I'm always looking for what is the lesson. We share at every single one of our meetups all the way around the country. We share real deals where people are sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly of a project. What went wrong? What
yep.
what could I do better next time? It's those growth elements that I guess define who you are.
Yeah.
Um, I guess the you want to talk physical pain because that's as literal as you can get.
Yeah.
I touched on it before. I've got electrodes in my spinal cord and a battery pack for pain management. So I am in permanent pain 100% of the time. And if this device is not turned on, it's an 8 out of 10 score.
Yeah.
And if it is turned on, it's a 4 out of 10 score. So I'm permanently in pain. But what do I make of that? Uh, so some people will go, woe is me, and they'll curl up in the fetal position and they say, this is what's stopping me. I remember a TV show when I was a kid, The $6 Million Man. I don't know if you remember that.
Love it.
The Bionic Man.
Steve
So
Austin.
I I started to manifest myself as the $6 Million Man because I've got so many bionic bits. I've got a remote control. And if I had known we were going to be talking about this, I would have brought my remote control to show you. Um, but as the $6 Million Man, every time he wanted to do something strong and powerful, special effects in the day weren't that great. They would slow
Slow
down the
motion.
footage, slow motion, right?
Right, with that music behind it.
Absolutely. And
Sound
so
effects, yeah.
when I start to get into a position of pain and I'm struggling to actually deal with things, I have to naturally slow down. But I now use that as a position of strength to say, right, if I'm going to be slowing down, that's me reloading so I can springboard off and do the next thing. And so that's really a mental mindset perspective that I've taken The accident happened to me back in 2012, 28th of January 2012, and that happened to be my birthday. So it's a very easy day to remember. And so ever since then, I've had to have that mental agility to go, how do I get through a day? Um, and once you overcome that, anything's possible, like
Yeah.
anything.
What do you think has enabled you to have that mindset though, to and to not say, "Do you know what, I'm just done. I can't, yeah, I don't want to help others. I'm in so much pain, it's too uncontrollable." Like how do you get to that point where you say, "No, well, I'm just unstoppable."
Uh, because I've seen what it's like when I don't have it. So I grew up without. I went through the pain anyway. So whether I'm having pain through growth and becoming a better person, or if I'm having pain by staying the same, the pain is still there.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to get to a better quality problem. So as soon as I touched on it before, as soon as you solve a problem, the problem moves. So I just want a better quality problem.
Yeah.
So if I'm learning property development, my first problem, I don't know what development strategy I want to do. So then I go, okay, well, I've chosen my strategy. The next problem, where do I learn that? The next
Mm,
problem, where do I find that deal? The next problem, how do I get the money for that? The next problem, how do I project manage that?
yeah.
And finally, till the best quality problem at all, how do I spend the money?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? The better the quality of the problem, the better your life is going to be. And that's something I really want people to embrace. You can never, ever, ever eliminate problems, but you can make them better.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said. So at this point in your life, how, well, is the money important anymore?
Uh, to some effect, yes, but money's not my driver.
Mhm.
Money's a byproduct of what I do.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Whatever your personality, money is an amplifier. If you're a nice guy,
That's
money
right.
makes you a super nice guy. If you're not a nice guy, then it makes you a super not nice guy.
Mhm.
And so I believe I'm a nice guy. And so to me, money just makes that side of things better. It's a means to an end. It gives me some nice perks, but I don't need all the money in the world. I'm quite happy, as I said, coming down the peak of the mountain just a little bit and have some friends sitting around me and we all share the view together. Um, it doesn't matter how many toys I die with. I'm still dead.
Taking them with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's about experiences and things that um, uh, things that on my deathbed, I don't want to look back and say I have regrets because I didn't try.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'm very aligned with that. I think where uh, things for my business and for my view of it started to change in terms of success, where I stopped just looking at the dollars and focused on impact and value that
yeah.
I'm bringing to people. And you're obviously doing, so much of that.
Yeah. As a business person, we have to keep an eye on the bottom line because we have to pay our BAS statements and our annual tax returns, and we've got to pay wages and all those sorts. So we have to have some business acumen, but it's not my driving force.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said. Just a few more questions. Um, At the you just touched on it there. Not that I want to go all dark and go on deathbed, but what would you say you would like to be remembered for?
Uh, that's a really easy one. I don't think it's dark at all. Um, what's the legacy I've left behind?
Mm,
Um, how many people turn up to my grave and or turn up to my funeral? Once the funeral's over, they probably never turn up to my grave again. But how many turn up to the funeral? How many lives have I impacted along the way? That's my measure of success.
yeah,
And I'm quietly confident that I'll have a fairly decent gathering at this point in time. And intention is to grow that even bigger.
yeah, beautiful. So let's talk about your programs because I always like to, give my guests an opportunity to talk about what it is that they do, and to we'll put some links below in the description of this podcast so that people can reach out and get involved with your program. So tell us a little, you mentioned about I know you tour around Australia and so forth to do your events. Tell us a little bit how people can work with you. And I suppose let's cut to it. We want to get the ideal people to work with you. Who are you, I suppose, right slash not right for to work with you? And yeah, just tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch.
Sure. So I'm going to say there's probably four different kinds of people that are a good candidate. Um, uh, Person number one has tried property investing, found that, look, they were making money, but it's incredibly slow and is not getting them the pace of life that they want to. And they're getting, I guess, to mid 40s, 50s and going, hey, I'm running out of time. So, what can I do to amplify that? So that's person number one. Person number two, somebody who's done a project or two, and maybe they got success, maybe they didn't, but maybe they worked out that there's a few mistakes that they've made along the way, and they'd like to do better and actually turn this into a business. And person number three is people who actually work in the industry, builders and tradies and that sort of thing, who we tend to employ, and they see us making money and they go, how do I get part of that? So they're probably our three ideal candidates, I guess, for wanting to come into the program. But we also have, I guess, a small, medium, and large way of engaging with us, because some people like the concept, but they're not really sure if it's for them.
Yep.
So I guess we've got a YouTube channel. So if you search Property Developer Network on YouTube, you'll find us there, and that's free. We've got a Facebook community that's also free. We've got our, I guess, monthly meetups. So we run them in 4 states: Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, and soon to be Perth. So 45 events a year. They're $25 to turn up to. Then we've got some free courses to say, hey, is this really for you? And then assuming that they, I guess, are getting plenty from that, and they then wanted to make a serious career out of that, then we've got our 12-month education mentoring program, which is called Property Development Formula, which takes them all the way back to ground zero and understands not just can it be done, but should it be done, and where should it be done, where we can de-risk it.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to put the links below so that people can get in touch with you. I love we're so like-minded in what we do. We do completely different things, but they say success leaves clues, and like the way that you approach each day and through the entire day is very, very similar to the way that I do it as well. So I wanted to give you. I'm going to ask two more questions. First one is, if somebody is sitting on the, let's just say, the edge of change, whatever that means, it's like they're in a job that's not really satisfying, they want to do something on the side, or transition over to doing this full time. What, and honestly, you could frame this in terms of whether it's working with you or property development, or just a change in general. What would you say to them to say, do you know what? I'm going to give you a bit of a push here. Let's let's just leap in. What would you say to them?
Well, are they ready to learn a new career? That's really probably the most important part. You don't uh turn up to be a doctor and just start carving people up day one. You've got to go through 8 years of 8 years of university and that sort of thing. Now, we don't have to put that level of effort in, but if you're not prepared to put 12 months worth of education into this, then you're probably not going to do the process justice, and that makes it extraordinarily dangerous to actually take on if you don't understand all the risks and pitfalls involved in it. So we're really wanting someone that is willing to do the work. Now, when they're willing to do the work, then we can help them by motivating them and keeping them on track when times do get tough, because it does get tough. And there's going to be lots of uh, I guess, issues and challenges and problems that are going to happen along the way. But we're going to try and help those, I guess, to be paper-based mistakes and not real-world mistakes.
Yeah.
So we don't lose money for the deal we're not in, right? So
Yeah.
we want to help people to realize that failure is not fatal and it's not final. And if we can do it in a safe way, then we want to learn from the failure. So we're going to put you in positions where you will fail safely. And then then you work out that the mental toughness that actually comes with that. I guess back to your show, the mental toughness that comes along with that is basically saying, well, if I can overcome that, then I can overcome the next thing. And if I can overcome that, then I can overcome that next thing.
Yeah.
And just being, let's just deal with the one problem in front of me. Because if I look at all the problems ahead, it can get overwhelming. But what is the one thing in front of me right now? Because that's the only thing I need to solve.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I think some people think, oh, I just wasn't born that way. Every single strength that I have is something that I've created through pain, through hard work, through consistency. Yes, it's taken me longer than I thought it probably would. Yes, it was probably more painful than I thought it would be. But I tell you what, on the other side of that, it's just so incredibly rewarding. And, I get to have conversations with people like you. And there was a point in my life where I was like, I don't even know how to have a conversation with someone. And here we are, adding value to people and feeling confident in the way that we do things. But it's happened from doing those little things every single day.
And the cumulative effect. So, if anyone wants to know how to overcome a big thing, all you got to do is break it down into a little thing. So, what is called a micro commitment. So, if I want a six pack of abs, um, I don't set my goal on a six pack of abs. I set my goal on I need to put my gym shoes on in the morning. Because if I put my gym shoes on, then when I walk around the house making my morning coffee, I feel a bit silly unless I leave the house.
Yeah,
And once I've left the house, then all I got to do is make my way to the gym. Now, once I'm there, I just need to do one sit up, just one.
yeah,
But once I've done the one, I might as well do a few more.
yeah, that's right. That is right. Rob, this has been fantastic. I'm going to give you the final closing word in a moment. I want to congratulate you, first of all, on your success. Thank you for making Australians great and be financially free. And I love your commitment to your legacy. It's truly magnificent. We need more people around like you, adding value and teaching them how to become financially free. So I want to thank you for that. I wish you all the success for the rest of this year. And my final question is, what would you say has been the greatest advice you've ever received?
You can never learn less.
That is true. Well, it's short and sharp and sweet. Thank
Oh,
you.
I could add one more, mate. One more.
Go for it.
A year six teacher of mine, way back, told me nothing is impossible. It just takes a little longer.
Yeah, nicely done. All right. Thanks so much for today, Rob. I really enjoyed this conversation.
All good. Thanks, Rob. See you, folks.